Okay, so this should be the last part of, uh, of this tutorial. Um, Now we're going to be doing a background and foreground compositing so that we can get the cow shot that we've been working on in this other chapter to kind of work together. So what I'm going to do first is I'm just going to take this background footage and I'm going to open it in After Effects. Now we're working on a very small section here as an example. These are, yeah, this is, it's really, you know, again, you can imagine that in this process, as you'll see, like you'd probably be able to, you'd end up with many more video files than just a background and foreground. You could end up with, I think on our project we had probably some 10 15 foreground files, and then you start to composite them all together. It gets really it gets really big and it gets really messy very quick. Anyway, so I have the background one in here. I'm just going to import foreground one in here, and so when I drag this down to the timeline, we'll just take a look at what this is. Get a better window setup going on here. Okay. Yeah, so again, it's a little I don't need any of this stuff here right now, so I'm just going to get rid of it so that we can see a little bit more clearly what I'm going to be doing with the masks. And let me just fit this. Okay, so so this was the background image, and I remember the good thing about this was that these guys are all in place. I do have a problem with him over here, but mainly my cow head was mostly messed up. Kind of his face over here. And then what I did was, out of Autopano, if you remember from the last one, I had this foreground image that I prepared. And if you can see, so what you're looking at is the difference between the two images. In the background image, this is all well and good, but the foreground image has the cow head, with the exception of this like little stuff right here, which I could have cleaned up a little bit better probably, although I did it pretty fast. I would have been able to kind of preserve this. But what I also didn't notice is, and this is pretty good, is I actually have, if I'm clicking on and off, I have the legs that are fairly well preserved over here, and then in the foreground fix, because I was really focusing on his head, that the legs are a little bit off there. So I might be able to kind of work between the two of them. The other thing that was fixed was this this guy's head was fixed in this one, and it was broken in this. So immediately what I can do is I can just take this foreground image, and presuming that these are exactly the same timelines and that they're lined up, and I'll just, I would just check that really quickly to make sure that the timing is all correct, and that looks about right. I can very quickly just draw, just have this selected, and take my pen tool and just draw, a quick mask right over here. Just move this down a little bit. Okay, not the best mask, but a mask nonetheless. Just convert this point so that it becomes circular. And so now what I have, back to there, is I have my background reference image where I literally, if you just look at the section right over here, I literally just used this, my foreground footage to fix his head. So if I play through this footage now, I'm only going to see the fix on his head because I have a mask that's there. And that's actually pretty much the basics. I mean, that's the principle of how you'd be fixing all these shots anyway, is kind of just targeting little areas that were problems, and then using footage that you were able to bring from Autopano and use those as fixes for your After Effects comp. I'm going to bring another version of that foreground image in here, and I'm going to put it on top. Now this time I'm going to target the cow. So I'm going to use the ellipse tool. Interesting. Okay. And so you can see already that there's some discrepancy between what I had in my first scene and what I have in this one. This is going a little bit slow, I think, because of the recorder. Yeah. So now, because I do have, like you can see that even though I pretty much fixed this over here, I actually I'm still kind of keeping in the problems of the background. So the solution to this is to make this mask to bring this mask in closer to the cow, and kind of try to do as much as possible to line this up. Now this is kind of a rough mask as a proof of concept, because I want to sort of like look down and see where the movement is. See, he'll move now, and he's going to kind of go outside of the mask, and then this cow in the background is going to kind of come inside the mask. So this is where you pretty much don't have a choice. You're going to have to animate the mask in some way. I'm just going to save this project right now, so I don't lose it. It's going to start to get a little bit heavier. Just call that the same name. I try to keep everything with exactly the same name, especially when you start to work with a lot of files. Okay, so the kind of important point here, and I won't do too much of this because it can get starts to get really tedious. I'm gonna just wipe out this mask for a second. And so remember, to get a mask, all you have to do is make sure that this layer is selected, and then you can either drag a shape, or you can use your pen tool to draw around it. And so in this case, I'm going to just use the pen tool from the beginning. I'm going to start totally at the beginning. I'm going to make sure that this is selected, and I've got my pen tool, and I'm going to actually just draw a lot closer to this guy. Oops. So that's my mask. All right, so now if I take this off, oops, that did not work. Okay, let's do that again. For some reason that did not work. Yeah, that'll work. Okay. I think it was just a glitch. All right. So now, that is regulated. There's something weird happening. Let's just do that again. Oh, no, there was nothing weird happening. My mistake. I think it was. I think it just got unhappy about the multiple masks thing. Start that again. Okay. You know what? I just realized. Okay. Okay, not really an issue. It was just I had it set at the very beginning before the footage had actually changed out of Autopano, so that's why I wasn't able to see it. But actually, the masks were working again. Okay, so let me just do this one more time. Let me just get my mask on this guy. I'm going to just keep it pretty relatively close. Okay, there we go. All right, so it's so I can see now I do have the cow pretty much in my foreground in focus, and I'll add some feathering so that it doesn't affect the background too much. But this starts to become like another it's kind of another area where you'll want to, it doesn't sound great, but you'll want to kind of you'll have to start to get very close to the cow over here in these areas. And you can use some like some feathering, some masked feathering over here, and try to, get that to, that might help a little bit. Let's say if we do 24 on feathering, see where that gets us. In some cases that works. Whoops. It'll work a little bit for the sky, but you'll kind of still end up with some background problems. Like if you can kind of see the difference between having the feathering or not. It ends up there's kind of different things that you can do over here to try to get it to integrate with the background a little bit better. But as this mask moves, you're also going to need to keyframe it. So let me just I'll show you an example of that, and I think we'll call it a day on this one. Mask. I just hit M to get the mask path, and I'm going to move it forward 10. Let's just see what we get on this. Kind of want to make sure that that my cow is like pretty much within the realm. I'm going to move this tent closer here so that I don't have as much. And in some ways I might be able to get away with this. Maybe. Let's see. No, not really. It doesn't exactly line up. There's a point at which, because of the variation between the images, you do have to kind of make a judgment call on this. Where are you going to let the doubling up happen? It works a lot better when you don't have when you have kind of clean objects that are overlapping and you don't have objects that are crossing. But this is a pretty real world. It's kind of a pretty real world scenario. So, in some ways, it's just it's kind of a matter of how close you can get it. So, what I'm doing now is I'm going back to that first point. Just making sure that that's like pretty clean. Let's kind of move it forward so you can see the mask path is moving a little bit. I'm gonna go 10 frames forward, and its auto keyframing is on. So now that he's moved a little bit, I'm gonna just move the mask path a little bit. And I can get, really close. I can go, if I really want to, once I get to the point where my foreground and my background, if I'm having areas, I can, start doubling up foregrounds, and I can start, introducing new fixes, and I can make my path go literally line by line by line. Like I can make it super close. I'm not going to do that here because it's just really tedious, but um, this is kind of ultimately the workflow. I'm going, every 10 frames to see, what the change is, and then making the necessary adjustments, kind of as a broad stroke. 10 more frames. So, he's moving here. Now, I am I'm wrecking the background a little bit. And this is kind of like the tricky thing. But with some feathering, and if you're kind of artful about it, there's usually sort of a way of there's kind of a way of finessing it. It just takes time. All right, I'm not going to do any more. We're pretty much at the end. Let's just kind of take a look at how this turned out. Render. Very slow. Okay, well I don't have enough RAM to kind of preview this, to even preview this yet, but you can see it kind of goes out of the lines a little bit. So what I'd probably do over here is I'd now go to, I'd check back in at 5 frames and do that fix over here on the 5th frame. That didn't seem to do much. Oh, that was a hangover from the earlier spot. Yeah, it helps when you have a very fast computer, because then you can work in somewhat more real time. Obviously, this is a little bit of it's a bit of a challenge, because you're making changes on things that have that without actually seeing where they are. So yeah, here. So it was back here that I had that problem. So actually, I should eliminate that, and then just come over here and add that fix in right there. And then, let me add a little bit more feathering, because why not? Oops. Just say 30. See how that looks. All right, it's a little bit better. I mean, you do have these kind of sections over here that become a problem, but at least his head is more or less fixed, and if you kind of went closer in and you started doing more, I think you'd be able to clean up this shot with relatively with relative success. Okay, and then that's so that's pretty much it for that. The other stuff that you can do is like, once you have this together, if you have the Skybox plugin, you could just take this whole thing, make it a pre-comp. Let's go OK to that. And if you have the plugin enabled, I'll just show you this quickly. You can go to Mettle Skybox Converter, and you can change the projection from an equirectangular projection to a cube map projection. So that's pretty cool. This is the same image, of course. Nothing's changed except for the projection. And now, what's nice about this is that you have this area over here that you could go into in Photoshop, or if you have like a background plate or something, or if you want to kind of clone stamp it, or you have a bunch of different options for how you want to do this. You can get rid of the tripod pretty easily. If there's any other kind of like nagging things, in some cases it's easier to kind of like do fixes in this projection, and then all you have to do is after you're done with it, you can just convert it back to the regular equirectangular projection. So that's pretty cool. All right, and then after this, it would just be a matter of adding this to your render queue. You render this out the same way that you would render anything else out in After Effects, and then you can take it into Premiere, or you can take it into I don't know, iMovie or whatever you want to edit with, Final Cut Pro, and then from there it's a pretty standard workflow. All right, so I hope that helps. Take care, guys. Bye.